My name is Jacob Restituto, and I'm a musician from Northport, New York, and I have the absolute pleasure of having DJ Young here on the channel. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome, DJ Young, for taking the time. Thank you so much for taking the time. I think this is going to be a really fun and interesting conversation. So, for the
Sweet,
people
man.
that,
Thanks for having me.
oh, it's my pleasure. For the people that aren't familiar with you and what you're up to, can you give a quick little backstory on who you are and what you've been doing these days?
So, my name is DJ Young. Obviously, I feel like our knowing of each other is through Voiceplay, but I am an independent artist, performer, singer, and songwriter, and I hail from Tampa, Florida. Florida boy all my life. But I've been performing professionally for several years by way of the Central Florida area.
Where in Tampa? The general area of Tampa?
Tampa. I would just probably say East
Okay,
Tampa.
because my
Yeah.
in-laws live in Tampa also. So
Oh,
they
nice,
do, and
nice.
they
Yeah.
are actually up from Tampa at the moment. So they're visiting. They are
Okay.
currently in my humble abode at the moment. So we're bringing
Oh,
Tampa. I
nice.
got double Tampa in the house today.
Sorry, I want to overwhelm you with the Florida vibes, but yeah,
Yeah, it's good, man. Hey,
Florida.
Florida's a good place.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. So, how long have you been in
Yeah.
the industry of singing, and how did you get? Actually, we'll ask that question first. How did you get into the industry, and
Oh my
how long has it
gosh.
been for you?
Well, I kind of started when I was very, very young. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I was on a gospel theatrical tour that I kind of got on from being in church
Cool.
as a younger kid. But then, once I really began to like delve into, oh, I can do this for a living, I went to a fine art school in Tampa, Florida,
Very cool.
Lake High School. Yeah, and that's how I just honed my skills and surrounded myself with people who I knew wanted to be in the industry as well. And I auditioned for Walt Disney World. When I moved here after I left college, I wanted to go to college after graduating from high school, and things just kind of went a different way. So I ended up leaving school because I really wanted to perform, and Disney was like the first really big professional industry thing that I did, and things just kind of opened from there in many different ways.
So, did you work at Disney World in Orlando?
Yes, I was a equity performer there for many, many, many shows. I think the first show that I did was called Disney Channel Rocks at Hollywood Studios, and I was contracted there. That was like my first professional, like acting, singing contract.
That is pretty wild, actually. Not many people can say that they've,
Yeah.
worked at Disney World. That is especially as an entertainer. That is a pretty cool. I bet that those
Yeah,
Disney
yeah.
contracts are pretty wild, though. Like you gotta probably sign a lot of stuff, I assume.
They're honestly not. They're
Oh wow, wow.
always a plethora of things you could do. I was doing lots of regional theater while I was contracted, and that's kind of how I got into kind of what I'm doing now. Yeah, there's no type of crazy restrictions or anything like that. It was definitely a blessing to be have that be like my first um, thing, my first big thing in the performing world.
I feel like most people's steps are like here, 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 and then you're like, oh, let me just go straight to Disney up here. Like, I feel like having Disney on your repertoire on your list is pretty wild, man. That's actually really cool. So what?
It's a blessing, especially the age that I started. It definitely was a pretty big deal to start that young there.
Yeah. So how long ago was that?
I started in I want to say I started with Walt Disney World in 2010, 2011. So I was fairly young. Things were fairly new to me, and I know a lot more now than I did then, or you know, I know more now than I thought I knew. I thought I knew a lot at that point, but
Sure.
you definitely learn a lot when you're, um, bolstered into this world that you always wanted to be a part of, but you suddenly get the opportunity.
Sure, there is a lot to learn. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Mm,
You think you know a lot, and then you're like, oh, wow, I I at least know now that I don't know a lot of things, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
A hundred
okay.
percent.
That's it's perfectly
Uh,
fine. It's always a learning experience, especially as an
uh,
artist. You're always learning and developing new skills and just trying to be better. And I used those tools while I was at Disney to be where I'm at now. Like there's no way I would have gotten the things that I've been able to do now if it weren't for performing at Disney. Like I don't know how I would survive like the shows that I'm doing now
sure.
if I didn't have that experience early.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, when you first start off, you have this. I mean, we always have this hunger and this drive for what we want to do, right? But then it's like that when you first
Mhm.
start off, that drive is so heavy that you'll do pretty much anything, right? And then you look back and you're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, man, I would never do that now. You know what I mean? Like some of the gigs that I
Yeah.
used to play
Yeah.
and the locations, like places where you almost lose, at least for myself as like a singer songwriter, like you almost lose your shoe in the bar floor because it's so sticky and gross, like the
Oh my
craziest
God.
places, you know. And then you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'd never go back and do
Yeah.
that now. But you have to, you know, when you're
Mm.
first, you got to put your work
You
in.
have to start somewhere.
Exactly, exactly. So starting at
Yeah.
Disney, where do you go from there?
What did I do from there? I mean, I would do Disney off and
Okay.
on. So I would go do a contract overseas in Japan. I'd go back to Disney. I, start writing a couple projects and then I go back. Or, I do some regional theater uh production there. And I was feeling like a time of me needing to shift and do something else. I was feeling like some other things were coming. I would be getting roles in regional theater productions that I didn't normally play.
Mm,
Like I'd played Tom Collins in Rent, and I played one of the male leads in Ain't Misbehaving, and I'm like, I never saw me as these roles. I wanted to do these roles, but I never saw myself, doing them. And I was like, something is about to happen. Something is about to shift in a way that is beyond me, and I didn't know what it was. And then this little show called Hamilton uh, called me to join the cast, and so that was a definite just redefining moment for me because just to see how my journey started and to see where it is now is just insane. Like you
absolutely.
couldn't have told me when I when I got to Disney that I would later be doing the biggest show in the world right now.
That is, it's wild. Can you speak
Yeah,
on that? Can you speak on your time in Hamilton?
yeah,
Like what your experiences were for people that aren't familiar
absolutely.
with either Hamilton or what you did in Hamilton? Can you just elaborate on that?
Mm, for sure. So I saw Hamilton 2 years before I was asked to join the cast, and I remember seeing it and saying, "I'm gonna be in
I
the
love
show."
that.
And that's funny because I did the same thing with Disney.
I
I,
love
I
that, man. That's
visited
cool.
Disney.
That's cool.
Manifestation is a real thing.
Absolutely.
It really is a real thing, and I firmly believe in us speaking things into existence. And yeah, when I visited Hollywood studios one time with my family on vacation, the stage that I did my first contract on, I touched it and I said, I'm gonna be on this stage. And my family was like, you really think so, huh? And they were like, okay, well then, call it out. Call it out. My family's definitely faith based and they are so supportive of me. And yeah, when I booked that contract at Disney Channel Rocks, moved to a stage version of the show, and that stage was the stage that
I
I
love
touched.
that, man. That
Um,
is the
so
best.
yeah, I had to tell that story
That
to
is
tie
so
into
good.
this. But when I saw Hamilton 2 years before they asked me to join it, I said the same words. I said, I'm going to be in the show. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm going to be in the show. And while I was on my dual contract this was in 2019, I was doing, what was I
What is a
doing? I
dual
was
contract?
doing
Like meaning working for two different like shows?
two different
Okay.
shows. Yeah. So in the summertime, they had like this Guardians of the
Hmm.
Galaxy kind of rock show. And I was contracted at Disney Junior, which is a show with, it's for the kids and like, It has like different characters from the Disney Junior series. So I was doing both of those shows and I was doing Rent at the time. So my schedule was just crazy. And I had been asked to send in some like I end up that was the most recent time that I left Disney. Um, and I've been with the show since then. And obviously, because of COVID, we've
Sure,
had a little
sure.
halt. But um, yeah, that is the most recent journey that I'm on.
That it's amazing, man. And I couldn't. It's so encouraging to hear that part of the story, especially like the manifestation whole part, because like you know
Mm,
I highly relate to that. Being like going to like see these concerts, just be like, I'm gonna be on that stage one day. You know what I mean? It's like
mm,
it is so encouraging to hear the actual fruit of that. You know what I mean? Like you've had
yeah,
both sides of the story. I don't have the second side yet. One day, I will, but kind of it
for
is wild.
sure.
So it's wild, man. It's so for people that aren't familiar, can you talk about your time in Hamilton, what you've done in Hamilton?
Yeah, so I am a principal standby in the show, and what that means is I basically swing and understudy multiple of the principal male roles. So I cover four of them, and I do Hamilton, Lafayette Jefferson, Lawrence Phillip, and Mulligan Madison in the show. So if you're familiar with the
So
show,
you have to memorize all those
three,
lines.
dude,
Oh my gosh,
my brain is just
superhuman.
like, oh man, thank you. I, that goes back to like the growing part. When I first started Disney, I'm used to doing one role and that's it. I feel like the show that I first started in Disney Channel Rocks at the latter part of my contract, I learned the other male role, and that's just, I don't know. It's just a different thing when you're like you sing the same songs and like that's the only different thing is that you go different places blocking
Sure,
wise and you
sure.
sing different songs. That's different. But when you have to learn a show where everybody is rapping, number one, and you know it's just such a massive show.
Sure.
I've never done anything like that where I've had to memorize multiple characters and what they are and who they are. And the majority of the roles that I play, they're one person in the first act and another person in the second act. So in all, I'm playing like,
8 characters.
you know, you know what
It's
I'm saying?
it's
It's a
actually
lot.
crazy.
It's
Cause
a
so
lot.
I know Hamilton decently. I talked about it a lot on the channel, and
Mhm.
it was wild. The funny thing about Hamilton
Yeah.
is it's something that I never ever in a million years would have thought I would have gotten into. Just because I didn't think I
Yeah.
liked musicals, and forever my mom was and sister were like, "You gotta
Mm.
check out Hamilton. You gotta check out Hamilton. You gotta check out Hamilton." It's like, okay, like I don't like music. Then I watched them, like,
All right.
holy mac! It blew the lid off of my mind. It was wild. So to know what you're
It's
talking
amazing.
about and all these different characters you're playing, who are all huge, characters, is wild.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever
I
had to
believe
do
it.
by far.
Absolutely.
By far, yeah.
So, okay, Hamilton. Now, voice play is another thing that you have your hands in so many things, which I love. I love that people might know you from voice play. That people might know you from Hamilton. People might know you from Disney. People might know you, from your time doing things in Tampa, in
Mm.
Japan. Like so, you have
Mm.
your hands in so many things. And I love that. So, can you talk about how you worked into voice play and how you manage all these different things?
Yeah, for sure. Not many people know this, I don't think, but the voice play guys, we all were in that Central Florida performing pot. So that's how we became friends. So I'm going to go back with the original voice play members, Tony Joaquin and Earl. Um, we both crossed paths. I did actually Tony did do Disney Channel Rocks, which is my first contract. And we also did Beetlejuice, the Beetlejuice show at Universal Studios. And Earl and I both did Finding Nemo, the musical, but we played the same characters, so we didn't do shows together. But we always cross paths, and we would speak to each other, and I obviously knew we had mutual friends. So that's kind of how the origin started. Like we all knew of each other and appreciated each other, and once the group started to flourish, I obviously would be familiar with their work and all of that good stuff. And then things just kind of morphed for them and things just started changing. Tony left the group to pursue other things and Earl left the group to pursue other things. And they became interested in just creating a different vibe for the group. And after a while, Jesse was brought in, J Nunn. I have to be cognizant of that because I'm like, no one knows him by that name.
Oh,
But
that is
he's a
funny.
good
Yeah,
friend of
yeah.
mine as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a good friend of mine. And when he became part of the group, that was another element of like, okay, this is another one of my friends.
Wow.
Um, oh my gosh, even Jeff and I did Beetlejuice together. Wow, crazy. I just thought about that too. But yeah, we've been friends for a while, but we'd always wanted to collaborate in a different way. And everybody just began being better at their craft and just becoming more solidified in what they do. I started writing a few albums and doing a few things, and then it just became the right time for them to go, "Hey, would you want to do something? We have a song in mind." And I didn't know what the song Bang was at the time. That was the first video I did with them, and I heard it and I was like, "Oh, this could be really cool." It's very different from what Voiceplay usually does, but I appreciated that they wanted
Mm.
to, experiment with a new sound and a new territory. And I didn't know how people were gonna receive
Mhm.
it, but yeah, Bang was a pretty dope collaboration. I'm glad that they invited me
Yeah, it
along,
was wild.
and we've just been kicking since then.
It was
Yeah,
wild. So I'm curious,
thanks,
being that
man.
you have done some really your tool belt, like your discography, I guess you would call it, of what you worked for is insane. But the it's very different, voice play to some degree from like say working with Hamilton and Disney Rocks. Like I'm curious the recording process for you. Was it difficult to record vocals, over other vocals, or did you find it just like you were recording over instruments just in general, like you would for Hamilton or something like that?
Well, another thing not many people know is that I have been singing a cappella for years.
Okay.
I've had a lot of a cappella experience. I think the first, mm, no, called the American Music Machine, which was an insanely crazy ride. And the arranger of that show is actually the same arranger who did all of the arrangements for Glee, which is a good friend of mine. His name is Tim Davis, and he's just a genius. So having all of that experience, it was really easy to come in and fit the mold of what they were attempting to do with Bang. So yeah,
Yeah,
acapella is it's in my
that is
bones.
super interesting. Man, I didn't realize that.
Mm,
Um, and I want to give a
yeah,
quick shout out. I saw that you actually did an interview with a friend of mine, Kofi, on Saturday. So I
yeah. Shout
met,
out to Kofi.
yeah, the
Yeah,
shout out to the Kofi gang, as he says. I love it.
Kofi gang.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
cool
he's
guy.
good people. I'm really appreciative of people like you and people like Kofi and Brad Steele and King Family. I want to say I'm trying to think of everybody off the top of my head. Just people who I know, show love consistently. Appreciate y'all.
Wow, that's bad cool. Actually, the four of us have become friends through YouTube because I've had them on the channel from this, like just doing conversations like this. And then now, like
Oh,
we're
nice.
all like decent good friends, and every Thursday we have this like just hang out on Zoom, and we like live stream our hangout. So
That's
that's really
cool.
funny
See,
that
that makes
you
sense.
met
Like-spirited people always connect. You know what I'm
100%.
saying?
But
So
that is
I love
really
that.
funny that you mentioned all four of them. So or all three of
Of
them.
course,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm curious, as an artist yourself, that you have people or react to the music that you're a part of at times. do you end up going and watch them? Do you, be honest? I don't, no offense, but I'm curious. Like, no offense taken to
No,
anybody
not at
else,
all.
because I don't know if I would go and watch them just because I don't know if I'd want to know what people say. You know what I mean? So I'm curious. I don't know. I don't know what I do. So I'm curious what you do.
So the funny thing is, a lot of them now, like I know when Bang first came out, we were curious about how people received it, and I would watch a couple. Now they all come up as like, suggested things on my YouTube. So I definitely have watched a lot. I've watched a few of them just to see, I
Sure.
think it's fun. I think it's really cool to see what people think.
Yeah.
And, as an artist, we're so used to reception and, what people have to say and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there's been nothing but, love and support for the work that I've done. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm just always striving to be better. But, I do see a lot of the reactions and I always respond. I always, make sure to show the love back because people don't have to show love
Sure.
to you and they don't have the support. So I'm always sure to like it or say something or just to show that I'm appreciative of people looking at the work and supporting it.
I think it goes a long way, honestly. I think that it makes a big difference when an artist does it, I think. And now thinking about it, I'm like, if somebody did it for one of my songs, I'd be like, absolutely be watching that video. So
Yeah.
I want to know what they would say. 100%, exactly. The fact that they took the time. Yeah, exactly. The fact that they took the time. So just give me 2 seconds. You keep freezing on my end over here, like on the stream end, and I just gotta let me just double
Okay.
check as to why. Um, I see you fine
It
with the
could be the weather over here.
that could be it, but
That's one thing.
like I don't know. You keep going. You keep being fine over here, but I don't know. On the stream, it keeps freezing every once in a while. So I just want to make sure we're good.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll just say a prayer that it continues to work.
I know,
It
right?
could
I
be.
don't want to.
Oh, and now we totally just lost you. There we go. All right, we will continue in 2 seconds. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much to him for being on the channel in general. He has been an absolute pleasure. And I have a feeling he'll probably end up just joining back in. But that's mad funny. You gotta be honest, it is amazing all the stuff that he has done inside of his career, and all the incredible just work that he has put in is very, very impressive. So I want to give a huge shout out to him. Let me send him a message really quick on Instagram saying, I think I lost you. Can you rejoin the Zoom link? Good stuff. There he is. He's back in. All right, here we go. Well, that was kind of ironic. Oh, now I hear a huge echo. Oh, you good? Hold on, I can't hear you just yet. Oh, wait, say something? Can't hear you. Hold on. And that's the beauty of live streaming, baby. That is the beauty of live streaming. I can't hear you just yet, but I can see you. Can you hear me? So in the chat while we're waiting for DJ Young, can you guys send some questions in the chat? So appreciate all of you guys who are tuning in. Thank you so much. But yeah, let's send some questions inside the chat to make while we wait for him to see if I could get some things ready for him. So I saw that question from Amy a bit earlier that said something about Angelica Tour, so maybe I could try and ask about that. Then we have yeah, I hear you. I hear you, KB Beers. Depending on your location, sometimes it can be a little janky the connection. But we don't see or hear him just yet. So, all right, let me tell a good story while we wait. who is his favorite character to play in Hamilton? That's a great question. That's a great question, actually. I can't believe. I gotta be honest. I cannot believe that he. Oh, we lost him again. I cannot believe that he has to memorize all those. What's it called? All those different parts, man. It is wild. What's up, Rose? How's it going? Hope you are doing well. Actually, while we wait, I want to send a message to all the guys on Instagram and tell them, like, hey, you just got a shout out from Deejay Young. That's pretty cool, man. Like, all the guys on that is really cool. I'm sure that they'll very much appreciate that. But yeah, that's a great question. I think that I cannot believe, Jennifer, that he plays all those different roles inside of Hamilton. To have to memorize all those lines and be able to pull them up on the spot is so crazy, man. And I believe he does. We're gonna get into that. Actually, he does have a new album coming out. So let's see. There we go. I can hear something.
I can hear you now. I don't know what was happening.
Nah, it's all good.
Literally couldn't hear it all.
It is highly ironic, but I can't see you just yet. But I can at least hear you. It is.
No, I'm turning it on now. There we are.
It is highly ironic that I was telling you that you keep freezing, and the second I start talking about you freezing, you completely just shut out.
Immediately.
So I kept the conversation going with the chat, asking. They have some really good questions to go into for you. So I'm really, I think they'll be really cool. So being the fact that you mentioned that you play 4 or technically 8 different parts in Hamilton, do you have a favorite part to play?
Everybody asks me that.
Really? I'm surprised. I thought that was such a clever question. But it is funny. Okay.
Yeah, everyone asks me that. I told Kofi Lawrence Phillip, and I think I tell most people Lawrence Phillip because he's close to the roles that I usually play. At least Phillip is, who is in the second act. He's the younger, the youthful. That's what I always get to play. So I think it's fun to kind of do that. I always think it's fun. Lawrence is just a little different. He's a little cocky. He's a bit of a hothead. Like he pops off. He's like the life of the party. He likes to turn up. So that's kind of fun to do that too, because I guess I have a side of me like that, but I'm not always like that. I'm very chill. So it's cool to play that. And all of them are fun. I really enjoy all of them, but the rest of them are a little more stressful to me.
Sure. I was literally about to say, I bet Hamilton's probably incredibly stressful because there's just so many lines for that part.
It's insane. And they're all very similar because his arc is, it just connects to the next. So it's, when I'm saying my shot, especially when I go out in different parts of my shot, I'm like, oh shoot, did I say this part already? Oh, we're not there yet. So, but Hamilton is fun. I do enjoy playing Hamilton, and I also like Thomas Jefferson.
So, being that you have done a lot with your own personal music, which we're going to get into in a second, working with Disney, working with theater and stuff, where do you want to see yourself going in the future? Do you like all the directions? Do you want to focus more on one than the other? Or yeah.
I love making music, and I love inspiring people and making people feel through music. And so the ultimate goal is to just have different audiences for my music. And I've been able to do that and do all the things that I love to do. So I feel like if a formula works, why not stick to it,
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's been a joy to continue to create and to have different people experience who I am.
So for it froze again for some reason. I don't know what the issue is, but for people that missed that what you said, because I could hear for some reason what you said, you were saying essentially that you like to have your hands in several different pots because you just enjoy that the most. Which I would agree that with that, man. I think that it's fun. Like some creatives are hyper focused, and other creatives I think just like to do a lot. And I definitely relate to the fact that I definitely like to do a lot. Do you see yourself getting into like TV acting and stuff?
Absolutely, I definitely want to do TV and film. I love film, so I definitely want to um, be a part of something like that in the future. The closest thing I've done is I did a visual album um,
Oh wow.
to accompany the latest album that I done. We did a film of it, and I'm super proud of that. But I definitely like to be a part of a motion picture with a large cast and
Sure.
a good screenplay. Yeah,
So last question before we go right into your talking about your music and the new album that you have coming out, which I'm sure you're pumped about, is
yeah.
you be having the insanely hectic schedule that you have, which I kind of relate to. But how do you balance all that stuff and also still have time for yourself and not burning out?
Mm. I make it. I know as artists, we tend to you gotta keep going, which I understand. But there also has to be a balance of yourself. You know what I mean? And I've made it a priority over the years to um, be kind to myself and put myself first and put myself in the best capacity that I can be in. If I don't want to do something, I'm going to say no.
Mm.
If it's not beneficial to my well being or my growth, I'm going to say no.
No is powerful.
And there's
Absolutely.
nothing, it really is. And it's something I had to learn
Sure.
in my artistic journey and in my personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I want to do something for my mental health or whatever, do that. Because what we do is very
Sure.
hard. We're always exuding energy and helping people and on these crazy schedules, especially on tour. Oh my God. I hadn't been on tour since I was a kid. So, and my family was there with me. So it's different.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to be on tour and do the same thing over and over again.
Sure.
See the same people, be with the same people, tell the same stories,
Sure.
exert the same energy. It's a lot.
Sure.
So I've learned to, take time for myself and clear my head and have people around me who want me to win and all that good stuff. It's very important.
Absolutely. And I would also add to that, I think when you love what you do, it feels a little bit less like work and it kind of has a lot more of a drive. Because I would agree with that. Like, while I definitely myself try to practice the self care of, taking the time to rest and spending time with family, it's also, I think, like, it's not that hard for me to spend 12 hours a day doing it because I love it. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I got
Yeah.
another, like, actually, the days off, I'm like, oh, I can't wait back to, yeah, I can till I can get back to work kind of thing. But it's
Yeah.
so interesting, man. So wrapping it
Mm.
up, I want to first of all say thank you for taking the time, but I also want to talk about this new album that
Thanks
you
for
have
having me.
coming out at the end of the July, right?
Yeah. Yeah. July 30th,
So
which is
is it fully DJ Young, or what can we expect?
yeah, it's all me. It's actually a album to commemorate the 1 year anniversary of my latest album that's out right
Oh,
now,
that's a
and
cool
it's
idea.
called Primitive. Yeah, it's called Primitive. And in March, I was able to do my first show that I hadn't done, solo wise, and maybe a little over a year. And we did it safely, and we were able to have a limited audience and, have it socially distanced. And it was called the Primitive Sessions. And it was live here in Orlando. And it turned out so well. It was just me and my three-piece band and three background vocalists. And we did all the shows from the Primitive album that I released in the summer of 2020. We did them live for the first time. It was very stripped
That's
back,
cool.
not a whole lot of frills, just me at a mic. And it turned out very well. And I didn't want to let that performance just dissipate without sharing it with people who might not have been able to experience it. And so going back and listening to the footage, the founder of the venue was like, "You should do an album out of this." And I was like, "No, I'm not making another album." I really didn't want to make another album after the last album that I did. I really didn't. There's just a lot of work that
Sure.
goes into it, the promoting and all of this stuff.
Sure.
But I wanted people to feel like they were there. And especially with the pandemic and everything that happened, I want to give people some type of hope. And that's why I did the Primitive album. So to have this, it'll kind of be like July 30th, which is the year from the Primitive album. And the pre-order goes live next Friday. And I'm super excited about it.
So next Friday, June 25th, is the pre-order, correct? And then
Yeah.
July 30th is coming out officially. And then there's also, like you said, that I believe there's a live stream or something like that. Was that correct? Or a pre-show thing?
Yeah.
What was that? Can we talk about
Yeah,
that?
I'm gonna do sure. I'm gonna do a live virtual listening party on my Facebook and my Instagram. Just to share, a little bit of what the album's gonna be about. There's gonna be 2 new songs on it,
Cool.
as well as the whole live album itself. So I just want to give people an idea of what to expect, and just show all the love and care that was built out of making this album and making what I think is some of my best live vocal work I've ever done as an artist thus far. So it's going to be on my Instagram and my Facebook. Both, well, my Instagram is Who is Deejay Young, Who IZ Deejay Young, DeeJayYYUNG,
There's
and my
links in
Facebook is
the bio for people that want to
facebook.com/.
click them. Just right in the description.
Awesome.
I'll add
Thank you, man.
the Facebook one.
And yeah.
But I have the Instagram and YouTube are
Okay.
in the description. What's the
Perfect.
the Facebook one?
Facebook is facebook.com/official Deejay Young.
Perfect. Yeah, so if people want to
And
check
we'll
those
be
out,
kicking it off.
check the links in the description. So, that's fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to it. I love the 1 year anniversary of that. That's a really cool concept. So, when is the virtual the listening party?
The listening party is going to be tomorrow, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, we're just gonna kick it for a little bit, share a couple of songs. We can't give it all away. But I'm gonna share like a couple of my favorite ones, and then I'm probably gonna share the bonus track that is on the album, which if you pre-order the album, you get it instantly. So that's really cool. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I love it, man. That's so cool.
Be a lot of fun.
That is so cool. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time, and thank everybody for watching. And definitely go check out all the stuff that Deejay Young is up to these days. Which you gotta stay on top of it, because you are doing a lot of stuff, man. It is so impressive, man. So
Thank you.
If you could just hang out for 2 seconds.
Thanks
it's
for
my
having
pleasure.
me.
I want to say thank you to everybody that watched the stream, and definitely, like I said, go check out Deejay Young and all the stuff that he is doing wherever he is, performing or up to these days. So, and his new album coming. What is it called? Can you remind me of the name again? It is called the new album.
The Primitive Sessions Live.
Primitive Sessions Live, July 30th, and the pre-order June 25th. So, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next.